All right. Well, it is currently 11:27 p.m. We just got out of our showing of The Batman. The Batman.
Yeah.
And we haven't said anything to each other yet.
We've said literally nothing, and it's been hard for me not to say anything. I've been trying not to say anything.
The only thing we've said was, "Is there a post-credit scene?"
Yeah, and you went dun 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 dun. dun.
Yeah, I've had that stuck in my head. Okay, Evan, let's get right to it.
Okay,
we've been waiting for a couple years.
Yes.
Now we listed it in our most anticipated movies of 2022, The Batman. We've been drooling over it. Yep. We finally saw it. What did you think?
I, very generally, I liked it.
Right.
I did not love it.
Okay.
I didn't. I don't think it's the greatest film I've ever seen in my life.
Okay, well, we're done here.
Which I didn't. Yeah, which I didn't kind of go in anticipating that I would think that it was the greatest film I've ever seen in my life. But I felt like it was good. I thought that it did many, many things very well. Right. There were a few things I thought that it could have done better. But with that being said, overall, I really liked it.
Yeah. This is something that always happens to me when I get to a really anticipated movie, especially of a property I really love, like a Star Wars movie or like a Batman movie. Yeah. Where when you watch it for the first time, it's really hard because you're constantly comparing it to not the other movies per se, but the movie you had in your mind.
Yeah. Yep. Especially whenever a trailer comes out, the trailer's so good. You start writing the narrative in your head in anticipation, which always makes it tough, which is why I kind of a lot of times I try to stay away from trailers if it's something I'm really looking forward to. But I will say, really, immediately, the only thing that pops into my head that I didn't like about the movie, and I want to get it out of the way real quick because there's a lot of stuff that I did like about the movie that I want to talk about.
No bat nipples.
But yeah, that's the one thing.
Yeah.
No, I thought that the movie could have done a better job at letting you know what the message of the film was. Throughout the course of the movie. It's a 3-hour movie.
Right.
And I thought that they didn't utilize the language of film as well as they could have to get across the message that kind of had to be said to us through narration at the end of the film.
Yeah.
I think that was the one major weakness of the movie. Aside from that, I had very, very few issues.
I know exactly what you're talking about, and based on one viewing, again,
and
11:31 p.m.
we saw it once.
Initial thoughts. What I think the issue is that you're getting at for me was something I liked about the movie, but it's a double-edged sword where this is really a movie about Gotham. But you can't have a character arc about a city.
Right.
And so at the very end in the third act, you go, oh, this is what Bruce is working through.
This is what they've been.
This is what Bruce is like reflecting on and changing. But in the whole second act,
it makes you feel like you're missing something. You're missing a piece of something.
Yeah. The narrative focus was so wide in the second act that when it came time for the catharsis, for the final moments, it really zeroes in on Bruce's journey, and it's a little like whiplashy because you're like, oh this is what he's going through, and you kind of forgot because the scope got so large.
Right.
Yeah.
But I will say, that being said, there are a great many things that I loved about the movie, and that is probably that's a pretty big one.
Yeah.
But that's my one kind of critique about it. And with more watches, maybe I'll pick up on little things, little hints that they were dropping or little things that they were leaving behind, because it is one of the things I loved about the movie is that it is very much, maybe I dare say, the most Batman as a detective movie that we have had so far, like ever.
Well, that's something I wanted to get to is for anyone who hasn't seen it yet, here's something I would say just to prepare you. This is not an action movie.
No.
It's not a blockbuster. Which,
there is action in it, but this movie is not at all driven by the action set pieces, though there is one in particular that had my heart pounding.
Yeah. There, like, the last Batman movie I'd say that was like this was in a very different way, but like Batman Returns, where, like, if you remember the Burton Batman Returns, that's not like a very blockbustery action movie.
Yeah.
And it's a different movie altogether, but this really does zero in on, like, it's a procedural.
Yeah.
It's a mystery procedural. Think like Seven, Zodiac.
Yep.
I'm going to say all David Fincher movies.
I mean,
or even like
True
Mindhunter.
Detective.
Yeah.
Ish, you know. Mindhunter. Like, it's very... Mindhunter's a good one because another thing that I loved about it is that they did not... This is one of... I don't think I've seen another Batman that's like this, where he is young, naive, like doesn't know exactly what he's doing. It very much feels like he's winging it at times. He's winging it at times. He's awkward.
Yeah.
And kind of stalkerish.
I liked that.
And I was like, I dug that, all of those things about it, where I was like, it just felt like a very different kind of take on really the Bruce Wayne piece of it.
Yeah.
Of like, he's not suave, he's not smooth, he's not like kind of a rich guy who like goes around like he's like he's awkward and reclusive, and which felt much more true to what I would think of. Like, he felt in this movie, which I really loved, that he felt kind of crazy. Like, oh, this guy's actually unhinged and a little unstable, doesn't get out, like doesn't talk to other people, is obsessive and unhealthy.
Yeah. Like, obsessive is a really good, Yeah, this is the first Batman movie I think we've ever had where the take on Bruce Wayne / Batman is someone who is so repulsed by the Bruce Wayne identity that he never wants to be Bruce Wayne. Like, if it was up to him, he would be in the Batcave, he'd be in the cape and cowl and just doing that 24/7.
Yeah.
And Alfred has to literally pull the Bruce Wayne side out of him. Whereas in all the other iterations, it's been a very like Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde, where he can flip that switch.
Yeah.
And he can be Bruce Wayne. He can be the suave, play that character. Then he can be Batman. But this one is really leaning into Batman and who he really is.
Yeah.
And Bruce Wayne is a mask that he does not want to put on.
Yeah. Exactly right. And I think that that the movie just did a really good job of changing that pace of differentiating itself from other Batman movies by really taking a different angle at that, which felt really, really cool. And I don't hold comic books up to like this is realistic.
Yeah.
Like I'm not ever like, wow, what a realistic comic movie, you know, like comic book character movie. But if we were to put ourselves in the shoes of this person or this character, it felt much more grounded, maybe is the word I would use. It just felt grounded in reality in a way. And it helped keep your head in that world of like, this guy is reclusive, like he is obsessive, and it makes sense that he would be this way. Yeah. And his motivations and why he does things make sense. because of this kind of character that they established.
Yeah, I think it's grounded in reality in a different way than like the Nolan movies, where it's like, yeah, like Nolan made very grounded movies. Like basically his Gotham was Chicago. Like this actually aesthetically isn't very grounded in reality in a way.
Sure.
What I like about it is that what Batman is going up against is very grounded. He's investigating murders.
Yeah.
He's not fighting these like bigger than reality things or ideas. It's just like he's investigating murders and city corruption.
Yeah.
So like the aesthetics are kind of a blend of realism and kind of like comic book.
The city itself, I don't think is grounded, but you're very much right, where it's like what he's investigating, and I believe his character and what he's dealing with himself is relatable and grounded. Yeah. And that helped pull me in to the story.
So just to like, we started off with like what didn't make us love it, but the things I really did dig was what we've mentioned before, is this was what I've always wanted to take on Batman. That was, let's just get him solving some crimes.
Yeah.
You know, I don't need him fighting like this, you know, big bad. I don't need like the most bombastic set pieces. I want to see him like really, you know, use some gadgets, use some critical thinking.
Yeah.
And so I like that. I like that he's really just hanging in the shadows. Like that whole, I don't want to get into spoilers, but that whole opening sequence where all the criminals are searching in the shadows for him when he's not there. Really cool.
Yeah. Basically him. Yeah. The idea of using fear as a weapon against crime and criminals.
Yeah. I liked how soft spoken he was as Batman.
Yeah.
He was really quiet and reserved, really just kind of taking everything in, which I think makes sense for his character.
Yeah.
And I really liked the photography. I mean, Greg Fraser, the cinematographer, just shot the hell out of this. It's just, one I can think of in particular where I almost turned to you and was like, that is so cool looking. Yeah. Like, it's so amazing looking. Yeah. The car chase. Did you like the car chase? The car chase, dude. When he ignited the Batmobile for the first time, it like shook the whole theater. And like that engine, I was like, this is the coolest introduction to a Batmobile ever.
It really was. I was thinking to myself, like, this is the coolest Batmobile, like maybe that we've ever seen.
It made its presence
so cool,
known.
and it sounded so cool.
Yeah,
and it was like that car chase had me on the edge of my seat. I like was enjoying it so much, but it was so like intense. I almost was like, I want this to end, so that I could stop feeling this anxiety of like what's gonna happen. Yeah. I really liked the car chase. And it was really cool.
I really dug the procedural aspect of it, especially like that first 30 minutes to an hour where he's getting the Riddler's very first clues and decoding them and just making all the connections of, okay, how far does this, for lack of a better word, conspiracy go?
Yeah.
You know, and how it becomes personal to him. I dug all of that. I really liked that Matt Reeves, the director, was like, we've had all these action versions of Batman.
Yeah.
We've had the blockbusters. This isn't a blockbuster. It's not an action movie.
Yeah.
There's some fight scenes, but it's really carried on just character interactions, investigations, and visuals.
Yeah.
And I love that. But there's this much story and this much runtime.
Yeah.
And you start to feel that. And I'm not like all long movies are bad, but you could feel that they had this much story and this much movie. And I was like it
around hour 2, you felt like it almost felt like, oh, the movie's winding down, but it was not winding down at all. And I'm not going to say any spoilers or anything that happened, but there is an event that takes place in the movie where you're like, your mind is almost telling you like, this is a good place to end it.
Yeah.
And then you realize like, we still got like 45 minutes.
The movie felt like it ended at one point.
Left to wrap up.
There was definitely a pacing issue too, where I was like, oh, so this is the end of the movie. It really like built to like this, just this climax
moment. Yeah.
And then you're like, I was like, wait, this can't be the end because
there's a whole other thing we have to deal with.
And then I was like, oh, so it really, poor analogy. Okay. It felt like a roller coaster where you got a couple loops, couple upside down moments at the beginning, and then you just had a climb for like a really long time. And it just like kind of was one note for a while.
Right.
And you're like, are we going to dip? Are we going to do a little loop-de-loop at any point?
Your metaphor just went from roller coaster to music and then back to roller coaster.
Hey, it's 11:40, okay? Analogies are going to go in and out. But yeah, I would say pacing-wise, there's a moment in the middle where it just felt a little one note.
Yeah.
And a little monotonous. But overall, like, good movie.
I mean, it was really good. The best. I get a little worried anytime there's a Catwoman situation, and this was by far, hands down, the best Catwoman there's ever been in a Batman movie.
Yeah, she was great.
I thought she was really, really good in this.
They had really good chemistry, and
it was really a good addition to this.
Okay,
Batman.
Well, we can't end until we talk about Robert Pattinson's take and what we think about that.
Okay.
I don't want to play the comparison game because I think they all bring interesting parts to it, but this is a success, I think. For now that I know the type of story Matt Reeves wanted to tell, Pattinson, I was like, of course you cast Pattinson. Yeah. Like he was that really like someone who can play an obsessive, kind of stalkerish, but like not too creepy, but has a little tinge of creepy to him.
But you can tell. One thing I thought was so interesting and different in this Batman was you could see the emotion in Batman's like face. And this sounds weird, but you could see the emotion in his face, almost like there were parts of the movie where it looked like when he was dressed in the full Batman suit that he was going to burst into tears. Yeah. Like as Batman.
And you need an actor as good as Robert Pattinson to carry the movie with little dialogue and just like that searing emotion in his eyes.
Yeah. And I thought that it was awesome. Like it was a take on that we haven't seen yet, which I thought was the coolest part. It's just, it did something. It took a story and a character that we've seen a bunch of times and did something very different with it. And I think it completely worked.
Yeah, I think making a Batman movie at this point in time where you've had so many iterations of it, the number one goal is make something that stands on its own. Yeah. Doesn't have to be better than the previous ones necessarily. Yeah. It just doesn't stand on its own. Like justify why you're making another Batman movie, and this did that.
Yeah. And I will say, I think there is going to be a group of people that are very disappointed in this movie.
I was thinking that too.
Because it is, I don't think it is at all what you would expect going to see a Batman movie. I think there are pieces of what you would expect in it. But overall, it is not really what you would think of when you go see one. But I think for that reason, I really enjoyed it. And I did think that Robert Pattinson did a really great Batman. I think I bought it. Yeah. You know, there were a couple of moments and a couple of lines of dialogue that I thought were kind of corny. Yeah. And I don't know if I feel like it was the line of dialogue and not the delivery. Yeah. But there were a couple of moments where it felt
Batman's
a little corny.
Been spoofed so many times. Like anytime someone says justice
or vengeance,
you're like, this has been spoofed so much. Like him saying justice. It like
I really don't want to ruin a piece of it, but there is something I badly want to discuss with you. And
I think next week we'll record a longer kind of like full spoiler once everyone's seen it.
Yeah.
You know?
I think so, but there are some really unexpected, interesting character twists and turns in this movie that I thought they're subtle, but they're really smart. Yeah, I think.
Something I thought about was that I really liked how The Dark Knight. One of the big things was it really captured the moment of history. 2008, post 9/11, terrorism was on the mind, surveillance was on the mind. Dark Knight really captured it. I thought this is also very timely in that the driving force of this movie is systemic corruption and inherited sins. And at this point in time, we're like, as a society, reckoning with systemic problems and like inherited sins
and division.
Yeah. And I was like, oh, this really does, like the Dark Knight was timely. This is very timely. Yeah. And I really like that. It's not timely in a bad way. It's not like being like,
it's definitely not finger wagging.
No.
It's not doing any of that stuff, but it's touching on those themes.
Like you can tell the people who made this movie and wrote this movie, were a byproduct of this time in history. You know, and I really like that.
Yeah.
But overall, I'm really excited to see where it goes next. Definitely some pacing problems. But I think that can be ironed out.
Well, and I personally, I don't mind putting up with a little bit of lag in a movie if it means that we're fully fleshing out what it is we're doing.
Yeah.
That's just me personally. I know a lot of people don't like to have that drag time, but I kind of don't mind a little bit of it if it helps us get what we need out of it.
Overall, I really liked it. I didn't love it with a capital L. Yeah. Like you. Real quick, Paul Dano, perfect casting.
That's really good.
And my only thing with him was I really wish we got more of him outside of the mask, outside of the videos. Yeah. Because that one scene, not to spoil it or like what the context is, but when you finally get Batman and the Riddler demasked like together, that was intense.
Yeah, it was.
And Paul Dano was flexing.
Yeah. It was intense. There were some bomb performances in this movie. Yeah. There just were. There were some really good performances. There's really not a weak link.
John Turturro as Falcone was really good. Colin Farrell was just disappeared.
Yeah.
Jeffrey Wright as not yet Commissioner Gordon, but Gordon was really good. Zoe Kravitz, of course. It was... Yeah, really well acted across the board. Okay, 100%. Out of 5 question marks in honor of the Riddler.
I thought we were going to do bats.
Oh, I thought that was 2 on the nose.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah. Out of 5 question marks, what would you give the Batman?
I would give the Batman 4.1 question marks.
Okay. I was going to go with a solid 4 question marks, but I might,
Are we doing points or just
I wasn't going to, but now you're introducing points. With points, it's 4.2 question marks.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I felt
so like 4 question marks, and then there's just the bottom dot of a question mark. Yeah.
I felt like it needed to. I thought about giving it a 3.8, but I think it deserves to be in the 4s for sure.
Yeah, that Michael Giacchino score pushes it over the top.
And I would say. Actually, I won't say that, but I 4.1 for me. I thought it was solid. Yeah. Good and solid movie. And a fantastic setup and introduction into a new kind of, hopefully a new kind of universe that might unfold a little bit here. Yeah. Maybe there'll be a couple movies that go along with this. I think it stands alone really well. Yeah. But if there are more, I think it sets up really nicely for that.
I'm really curious to see, like when you see a movie for the first time, like that first night or the next day, like how often it plays in your head. Yeah. Some movies, the more you think about it, the more you like it. Others, the more you think about it, the more you don't like it. Yeah. I'm really curious to see how this one sits with me.
Yeah, me too.
But for now, very pleased. Really liked it.
Really solid.
Excited to see it again. I don't know if I'm going to find 3 hours this weekend to see it again.
It's definitely worth going to see. I mean, in IMAX, there were some shots that were so cool, just really captivating, really brought you in. The sound and the score.
The sound was really good.
Yeah. It was immersive. Like it pulled you in. Yeah. So I think there was one scene, maybe 2, that were set in the daytime, Everything else was at night.
That's true.
The whole movie took place at night. It's
very much like Fincher's Seven, where like the whole movie it's raining in nighttime.
Oh, yeah, it's just dark.
And I love that. Yeah. As I love Zodiac. Like there were multiple moments where I was like,
Zodiac.
The opening is Zodiac.
There were multiple times where I was like, this is so Zodiac. Like it feels so much like
that
Zodiac.
Opening scene was like straight from Fincher's Zodiac in all the best ways.
Yeah.
It doesn't feel like he's ripping off Fincher like overtly, but like
he paid homage to several different great movies.
Yeah.
And he did it in a really clever way.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was good.
Yeah.
And there were some moments there where I was like, this is a little scary.
Yeah, I teased that a couple weeks ago, like him being a horror director. I think,
it was there were some moments where I was like, I'm a little creeped out.
Yeah. Well, I think
definitely worth going to see though.
Yeah. The next time we get together, we'll record a more in depth, like really getting into the nitty gritty and like individual scenes and stuff.
Yeah.
But until then, let us know what you thought of the Batman. I'm really curious to see what people thought.
I'm super curious too. I'm concerned.
Yeah.
A little.
Yeah. I don't think this is going to have the wide appeal of like a Dark Knight. I think I don't either. I think a good amount of people are really going to like it. Like people who are really into film and people who are really into Batman, I think will like it. But like the wider audience, the people who like, oh, maybe I should see that new Batman movie might be a little,
like, what is this?
Yeah.
But no, I think that the Batman lover and the film lover and like the comic book lover is going to really like this movie.
Yeah, really leans into genre.
I do think that they will really like this movie. And I say that and, watch what'll happen. But
we'll see. Yeah, well, let us know what you think.
There's going to be a bunch of people in the comments that are like, you're insane.
Yeah. Well, stay tuned to this channel. Why it's great, and stay tuned to our podcast, Professional Appreciators, where we will dive deeper. So if you've already seen it and you just want to listen to people talk about, more specifics, we will get there. But for now, thank you for watching. If you haven't subscribed, go ahead and subscribe and check out our podcast in the links below. And until next time, we're going to get some sleep.